usually done with the startups, the new companies that want to get a lot of money at once. Then we'll play host to the Prime Minister, former mayor, as we all know, and they know know that Prime Minister is aware of the experience they have and the challenges they face. Then 15:51 and the panel discussions. At 3:30 we'll go to the unit city, that is the innovative park, a former motorcycle plant, and you'll see the innovations that are taking place in Ukraine. So in order for you to better understand what unit city is and what is the image of this unit city, we want to invite the frontman, Maxim Bakhmatov, the governing partner of unit city. He knows best how startups function, how to sell them. So I think he can teach the mayors, and they can learn how to develop. Good morning, Ukraine. Good morning, dear guests. I am the governing partner of Unit City, and I know a thing or two about startup. We are going to have some pitching exercise, short presentations for the startups to invite investors and the public, the general public. Mayors are startups and their municipalities are startups, so we'll see who's best at that and who is better in inviting people to their municipalities with investors. 15 minutes each. We have to speed up because we are behind the schedule because of the icing on the streets and the slippery streets, and you can share your experience how you fight icing, because for the first time in many years I've come by metro. I'm very thankful to Mayor Klitschko for the functioning metro, and I would like to ask whether Vitaly Lukov from Voznesensk is here. Are you ready? I suppose Vitaly Mukov, the mayor of Voznesensk. A short pitching, a presentation of the town of Voznesensk. If we have a timer, it would be better to that if we set it up and keep the time. So the mic should be switched on. There you go. Good morning. With your permission, I would like to show a short video to depict, to showcase my beautiful town. And briefly, I would like to say that indeed we are in the top 5, in the top 20, but practically every mayor, every municipality have the right to be on the stage and to share their experience. There's always something to share, because mayors who agreed to run the election and face all the troubles without any decent salary, they deserve your attention by virtue of this fact. Voznetsensk is a town at the crossroads, and we are also not far from the sea, 100 kilometers. We are not far from the entry ports, and we can attract attention to this city. We are lucky with the community, we're lucky with the landscape. We are surrounded by canyons, sand lakes, clean and cool. We used to be in the midway, on the midway to the Crimea. I think the Crimea will come back because we'll live better here in the mainland Ukraine. We once were, recall in the beginning of the revolution, too many people confused it for a socialist revolution, to take away from some and to give to the others. Some people argued that the junta took over because of this revolution. So in our communities, we have to prove to the people that we have the opportunity to be people who can shake hands with you. and it is not always politically very rewarding to work with some communities. For decades, people were patronized, and Voznesensky is different. We've achieved things. One of our um, landmark hallmarks is the card of a Voznesensk citizen. We were had by the donors. Our initiative was supported, and that card is now being introduced. 12,000 have been distributed. There are many problems. The registries are different. They are not always compatible, but we started our work, and now we can influence the situation in which we live in and the environment where we live. We're living for the people to understand, for every individual to understand that he or she can influence one's future. For more than 10 years, all the medical database, all the medical records are electronic. There was no access just for family doctors. Now we have this personal card, and you carry it as a bank card, as a credit card. It provides access to a protected cell with all the medical records. If you have a problem, unfortunately, you are in the intensive care unit, you should not waste time on some tests or anything. One click and all the database is there. One minute. And another, it wasn't so easy to distribute it. People would say that I don't care, I will never be in the intensive care. And had to get them interested. Through the retirees, it was the easiest. You have a card, 2 hryvnias. If you have no card, you pay 5 hryvnias for the public transportation, and that way we distribute 10,000 cards in one month, within 1 month, through family doctors. That's how we teach people to get examined, get tested for their better health status. All the 35,000 people within 6 months will undergo examination with the family doctor. Now we invited businesses for cooperation. Starting from the 1st of December, 3 shops being opened. We have 35,000 people, 3 big shops. If you have card, it's a discount, it's saving, and then all the community will support that initiative. I think this will help us. The carriers understand that we pay twice as much for the privileged fare. So we can understand who uses the public transportation, how much. Thank you very much, Vitaly. Our next speaker is Andriy Moskalenko, Deputy Mayor Lviv. So let's see how he is involved in innovation. I am very much interested in the icing. There's no such problem on Lviv. Somehow I'm not surprised. Also, you can see man being innovative. I would like you to immediately switch on the presentation. Every city is a living organism. Scores of issues every day cropping up, the infrastructure, the basic things, because they create comforts and they make people comfortable. The competition is won not by the infrastructure, but by the long-term strategy. Last week I attended one presentation of a book in Lviv, and the authors asked how can we possibly every week have some kind of world-level invention or a startup in Lviv. And one of the deans, the mathematician from the Catholic University, 3% of startups. Every week we have a successful startup. We need 20,000 startups. So where can we get them? We have 120, 150 students That's a prospect. 60% of the people in the left, right-hand center. This is a higher figure than the turnout mm, at the elections. So the elections of the city is very easy. When we start with the school, you can see that there are many teachers, there are many students. My nephew wants to make his channel on YouTube, and he's a second home former. And so we decided to buy the multimedia boards for all the schools with the mayor. This is not enough. We get together all the teachers every month in one of the IT companies to show that the IT companies for the teachers, and they are the same system. It's synergy. And then we penetrate the universities. Through smaller grants, we can support our students. And what we suggest is this. Last year, we approached them with this initiative, the Smart Neighborhood. That used to be a hub of academics, and this year we implemented several projects. Why we need that? Because people should understand that the cities from lingaphone off rooms, they have chargers and all things, the computer equipment, and then we found a person. Then we suggest that people are invited to the incubators and accelerators, and if you work in Lviv, you can use one such person and support them. There are two lands, Pidzamche and Stryske districts, where we expect about 20 to 30, maybe a bit more people that can become startups, and they can be planted there. Speaking of Pidzamche, this is a very beautiful marmalade factory with a cultural hub. The First Republic, that is already utilized the Trema. This year we had a forum there, and in fact we are changing, redesigning, redeveloping. And Stryske Ukrainian Catholic University, two IT parks, one park that will be started next year, and the Ukrainian Catholic University, the library that was opened, one of the biggest events this year in Ukraine. And what is very important, a revitalization of the tram shop or depot for the startups to come and sit around making decisions, where we can find some money. A crowdfunding platform together with our universities, like Kickstarter. And so we had several pitchings already. One of them was the creative entrepreneurship with startup days, and the last one this year is going to be called Old-Timers Against Startups. And so there are some people who have money, the old-timers and the startups who have new ideas. This is the old money, and they can invite some investments. In Lviv, when they say that we invite you to coffee, this is not just coffee. This is decision making. This is talking business. So come to Lviv to talk business. See you in Lviv. Thank you very much, Andrei. It was very quick indeed. Congratulations. And Lviv Techno City started in Lviv, a little bit smaller. And this is a new building for the startups and the new companies. About 6,000 square meters, of course. Vladimir Harata, mayor of Dolina. The town of Dolina, yes, he's ready. A round of applause. Hello, yes, of course. I need clicker. Great presentations from my predecessors. We cannot compare ourselves with Lviv. It's unfair competition, but every municipality is innovative, because in the legislation, under current conditions, we can do things claiming innovation. especially in smaller towns where we lack HR and financial resources. So I would like to start with this short video.
I spend my life looking through the lens of a camera. My objective
Oil was the key driver for transforming Dolina from village into attractive city near beautiful Carpathian mountains. And for almost a decade, the one of the ambitions of Dolina's mayor is making its economy independent from oil.
Нафтова перспектива. Індустріальна зона, навколишні села, які знаходяться, мають величезний сільськогосподарський бальнеологія, туризм. Долина була одним із небагатьох 10 міст, які першими виявили бажання і підписали угоду мерів, взявши на себе зобов'язання до 2020 року зменшити споживання на 20%, провадити альтернативних джерел на 20% і зменшити викиди в атмосферу. Переважна більшість закладів шкільних, медичних переведена на тверде паливо, на біопаливо. Нещодавно виступили з ініціативою використання колишніх нафтових скважин для генерації тепла з землі. І зараз ми створюємо площадку в нашому місті, в районі індустріального парку, будівництва вітропарку. Я думаю, що за кілька років у нас з'являться і сонячні електростанції. Сьогодні ми є в числі 12 відібраних державою концептуальних індустріальних парків, задача яких залучити девелоперів, інвесторів в будь-яких сферах, які можуть бути альтернативними для нафти.
Ці баночці – це майбутні врожаї ягід, горіхів, яблук. Ці баночці – це ваші майбутні достатки. Ці баночці – це майбутні і долини, це майбутні держави. Ці рослини – це нова галузь, це нова економіка, це нова Україна.
Долина є одним із лідерів і показує приклад для інших міст і малих, і великих, як потрібно рухатись в питаннях охорони довкілля, зменшення викидів вуглекислого газу, енергозбереження.
Thank you. So we are facing the challenge in our city. 80% of extraction of oil, 80% of the budget, and more than 80% of employment. So together with Promise, we developed this strategy and the competitive ability plan. I will discuss in the video to create a new industrial area and work in the agribusiness and utilize our resources of salts. And there's enough salt in Dolina to introduce new technologies to find the icing on the roads, 27 hectares, with the where we are expecting investors for the economic life of our city, the investment projects in balneology. We have the resource for 200 years and we can become another Motion Truskavets.
And we expect investment into this sector. Dolina is leading in the area of energy savings. We were the first to sign the agreement with mayors in Brussels. We have in Brussels also presented the plan for economic development, and we are leaders in improving the insulation, thermal insulation of the buildings. And at present we are going to continue the insulation renovation of the buildings. We have a certificate 2001 in energy management, and this is a photo demonstrating that. We also would like to attract investors into the sector for development of the solar stations and the wind farms. And the community has to participate in innovative projects as well as the business has to be involved. And the innovation is possible only if all of them participate in that, and these efforts will not be that effective. I have been elected the mayor for 12 years running, and at present we have involved a lot of citizens into the decision-making in the city. We support 20 projects at present, and we also work with the businesses. And we can see that from these photos we have the laboratory where they develop the new varieties of plants, and they grow these seedlings for the agricultural industry. And from this presentation you can see that we are working very effectively with the community. So Yuri Fomichov is invited, the mayor of Slavutic. Yuri, the floor is yours. Let us welcome our colleague to the podium with your applause. Good morning, dear friends. I would like to introduce to you the youngest city of Ukraine. We have been built 10 years ago, and we have been constructed as a city as a result of the accident in Chernobyl nuclear power plant, a very sad event. It is very difficult to make a presentation about the city within 5 minutes, but I'm trying to be, brief and to tell you the most important things about our city. Well, as far as the icing of the roads are concerned, actually, I would like to tell you that the salt to deal with the icing has been resolved by Dolina, who is selling a lot of salt for that purpose. And quite energy transition. We are following the investors at present, and it is unrealistic to compete with the big cities, but in certain sectors we can be successful. Slavutic is the city of energy sector, and we have selected the energy sector as the main sector for our development. I would like to give you some information about Slavutic. 25,000 population. The majority of them are former employees or current employees of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. These are energy specialists, the engineers, and this is a great potential for us. We have 300 cottages. We have 110 multi-storied apartment buildings, and we have interesting data as far as the energy consumption is concerned. And they are not that different from the energy consumption in other cities of Ukraine. And we can save 50% of the electricity consumed in the country if we implement energy efficiency measures. We are trying to attract the investors, and we can see that we can attract investors into two sectors, energy sector and IT technologies. We understand everything about the energy sector because we have lots of engineers, and we also have a lot of staff who is capable of working there. And why would we like to develop the information technologies? It is impossible to build a big plant here in a small town close to the Belarus border. But at present, the Slavutic is a very interesting hub. We have a good infrastructure of providing the comfortable lifestyle in the city. We have schools, kindergartens, swimming pools, sports sectors. It is all accessible, and the city is equipped with a video surveillance, and the parents are not apprehensive of letting their children move around the city, even in the evening hours. What the city government can do to attract investors, we do not have that many opportunities, but they exist. Local taxes, land tax, consultancy services which which could be provided to the IT freelancer who are ready to work and live in Slavutic. Current infrastructure of Slavutic give us an opportunity to add 10,000 residents and citizens without any capital investment. And what are the local preferences we can provide for those who will come to work in Slavutic for our startups? Everything is simple. We organize the technological park, and we participate together with our colleagues from Dolina in the project of a European project, Social Economic Development. This is another agreement of the manners where we create a technological park with the preferences for the production facilities who are going to be working there. And also the freelancers can work there, and we can provide them the consulting services, and all the necessary aspects are to be addressed, and they will be comfortable there. What have been done as of today? We have started to develop the energy cluster. We had this year problems in electricity supply and gas supply. We decided that we have to turn around this situation, and we did that. In Slavutic, we have constructed the biggest in Ukraine bio boiler house. It's 10.5 megawatts, and it's going to be 10 megawatts of heat and 10 megawatt electricity. And we are going to be independent of the gas supply, and we are going to use biological fuel. Why is it a cluster? Because we are going to grow energy willow trees around Slavutic city, and the residents of the nearby villages are going to grow it like a material which fires the bio-electricity facility. We have quite a unique situation in this city. It's different from the situation in the cities of Ukraine. We have our own municipal electricity supply systems, our own grid. We do not have Oblenergo grids, and we would like to create an energy corporation, and we are going to issue municipal bonds. We are going to attract investors. Well, actually, it's a pitching speech now. We would like to get investors for us, and we would like to create a solar power plant which will enable us to sell electricity using the green tariff and have certain benefits both for the citizens and for the city government. At present, Slavutic is introducing a new brand. We are going to make a transition from the post-catastrophe city to the city of the new ideas. And I would like to invite you to watch this video, and you are going to understand everything I mean just watching this video. Thank you, and I would like to thank you for your attention. Please welcome to Slavutic, Serhiy Sukhomlin, the mayor of Zhytomyr city. Please welcome Serhiy Sukhomlin. Well, I mean, it's easy for the start-uppers to speak. They just fit their speeches into 5 minutes. It is true, decentralization, first of all, gave us the opportunity to start developing our cities and increased their opportunities. And I could have talked a lot about the innovations which we implement in the city of Zhytomyr. We can talk a lot about the transformation of the system of heat supply of the city. We have already tendered to build the heat power plant using the biofuel, and we plan to build 3 more. We started to construct the first solar electricity generating facility for 10,000 megawatts, and the government of Slovenia supports us in the implementation of this project. 40% of street lighting use LED lighting, and next year we are going to complete this project, and I hope the city of Zhytomyr is going to be the first city in Europe which will use LED system of street lighting. I can tell you a lot of things today, but I would like to give you an example, just one innovation. Use it as an example of our work, and this innovation is the start of the systemic transformation, and this is about public transit. The problem of public transit is faced by a lot of cities of Ukraine, and the e-ticket as an instrument of modernization of the system of transportation. The e-ticket is not a transformation, it's simply a tool. In the city of Zhytomyr, and I am going to demonstrate now the typical system of public transit in Ukraine, and using the city of Zhytomyr as an example. The trolley buses and municipal transportation transit account for 27% of all the transit services. 73% of services are provided by the private transportation companies, and all of them have different interests, and quite often they are not matching the interests of the passengers or the residents of the city. What is the major problem here? In the current system of transit, the problem is, the problems are the following. The transportation agencies depend on the profits, and they are trying to attract pay-worthy passengers. The number of vehicles exceeds the need, and this creates the traffic jams, increases the exhaust of the CO2, and it also creates the dangerous situations, and also they do not provide enough services for the groups of population which have low mobility. And we have introduced this year in Zhytomyr a transit system, the system of electronic ticket, e-ticket. The passengers can pay their fares with the payment, with the help of the cards of the payment system. It creates a lot of advantages. It's convenient for the passengers. But what is the advantage of it? First of all, personification of the passengers. We know what this passenger is, which privileges this passenger has in terms of payments. The system of e-ticket is the possibility to model a new transit system. The system of e-ticket helps us to create the hubs of the changing the routes, and they were paying one fee in one zone. Also, we can control the revenues. After we have introduced the e-ticket, we have increased the revenues of the transit system by 30%, and we can see what are the flows of the passengers, and we can manage and control this system. We can keep the cars off the routes if the passenger flows decrease. Next year, we are going to start new relations with the private bus companies, and the city is going to collect all the fees for the usage of the transit, and then they pay to the private companies per kilometer of transportation, and all the problems which I've mentioned before are going to be resolved this way. This system is quite convenient. The city of Zhytomyr, in accordance with the data of the Visa company, was the first city in Ukraine who started to use the system of e-ticket in the city in Ukraine, and they are the third in Europe after London and some other city. Well, the third city of Europe. That's a great achievement. Mr. Boychenko, the mayor of Mariupol, and maybe it's the most eastern city of Ukraine. Exactly. This is the way we position the city of Mariupol. We are the most eastern European city at present. Today, we are going to talk about the city of Mariupol and about the reloading of the city of Mariupol. Last year we were discussing the problems, issues, and now we are talking about the achievements. Why reloading? Because Mariupol traditionally has been perceived as the center of metallurgical sector of Ukraine, and it's perceived usually as a sort of a gray, dull city. And also now we face a lot of problems which result from the war in the east of Ukraine, and it seemed that we have to be actually living through difficult times, because we have also to house 60,000 of displaced persons. But we considered it an advantage, because we decided that those who moved into our city is our opportunity for economic growth, because the elite of the eastern population of Ukraine have settled in our city. These are the doctors, the physicians, the teachers, the professors, the people who worked in the enforcement agencies. And we, together with them, developed an applied strategy. We developed a new brand, and we actually gave a new meaning to the city of Mariupol. And together with them, we have opened 3 universities in Mariupol. Well, we've opened the medical university, legal law school, and the Institute of Management. We understand that we had to work on the image of the city, to improve the mood of the population. And we have reached the new level together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We started to bring the ambassadors of foreign countries into Mariupol, and we started to demonstrate what the city of Mariupol should look like and the way it should be presented in Europe, so that other people would see it. And people started to believe us, not as into Ukrainian city, but also as a place for the possible investments. But we had to improve the mood of the people, and we had to improve the level of security in the city. What tools exist in Ukraine in this area? It's not valuable, and we started to look at the similar projects in European space. The intellectual product which has been developed in Mariupol is working in London, in Abu Dhabi, in Singapore. And we have purchased this intellectual product, and it was filled into the smart server and smart cameras which are installed all over the perimeter of the city, at the entrance into the city of Mariupol, in this public spaces where people gather, and in the online mode then transmit the information. They photo the objects, the subjects, and they send the information into the database where it is being analyzed. And if the object or an individual is wanted, the information immediately is being provided to the telephone number 102, and the person could be detained immediately. We have decreased the level of crime in the streets by the factor of 3. In 2016, thanks to this system, we had only 1 stolen car in the city of Mariupol, but it was investigated and actually dealt with within 24 hours, thanks to this system. And thanks to the service center UASE, Mariupol now is one of the 10 most safe cities of Ukraine. We have developed a mobile application, and this is actually an alarm button. And at present, if an individual is registered in this platform and having a mobile phone, you can push this alarm button, and automatically this information is being transferred to the line of the police. And if you press the button twice, so it means that your life is endangered. And thanks to this application and thanks to this system, the level of alarm of the city of Mariupol has decreased. In 2015, the issue of safety was top priority. At present, it's, you know, like the 10th priority of the city. What are the top priorities in this city? This is the transit issue. We, as other cities of Ukraine, are thinking of how to actually revive the transportation system which we used to have in our cities during the Soviet times. We have received a awful rolling stock. We were looking for the intellectual product, the platforms to manage the transit system. We looked at the experience of Lviv, Vinnytsia, and we found the best experience in the Baltic states. We also bought the software, the mobile application. We connected it to the smart cameras, and now we are developing the e-ticket. And we are also thinking about using a Visa card as an e-ticket. And to make the economy strong, we need strong communities. We need the involved people and responsible people who would be taking part in the transformation. And the biggest value are the citizens of Ukraine, of Mariupol, who live in this city. And we decided to launch a project which is called the municipal reform, and we have resolved two issues: the rehabilitation of the housing stock and also transformation of the conscience of our citizens. We have started to implement new philosophy. So each mayor knows about the housing problems, and the project which we call OSMD we have developed in Mariupol, and we have provided 3 instruments and tools. Those who participate in this project are actually participating in the rehabilitation of the apartments, the roofs, the windows, and we give a choice to the community what is the priority for them. And the second tool we use in this project is a nice courtyard. We involve the business into this project. Starting from the cozy courtyard, we make the city of Mariupol a cozy city, and we give the toolkit for the residents to improve their courtyards, and they decide where the children's playground has to be installed and what trees have to be planted in the courtyard. And through this tool and instrument, we involve the people. They become the owners of this project. They love their cozy courtyards. They don't litter it. And now, within the framework of this project, we made the breakthrough. Within a short period of time, just 12 months, we have created 460 condominium, and we have created the involved community, which is proactively participates in transformation of our city. I would like to thank all the partners and organizers of this conference for the opportunity to speak here. And well, we have traveled along this very complex way together within these several past years. I would like you to remember the slogan of Mariupol. Mariupol is worth your attention. It's worth living in Mariupol.
And that was Mariupol. And now our next speaker is Vladislav Vaskalsky, Deputy Mayor of Vinnytsia. Yes, the icing, some people break their legs, but you can always opt for public transportation. Good morning, dear colleagues. I'm happy to be with you, and I would like to start with a global context. We all love this word, global, nowadays. Please switch on my presentation. It's coming, and so is Christmas. But I had several slides for you, and in the first slide, there's an image, the image of last survey for the economic capacity of the countries, World Economic Forum. Ukraine has the 88th position, unfortunately. Poland has this 39th after the Russian Federation. Just for you to know. Why? Let's look on the components, the financial component, the capacity of our financial system. And if we discuss the risk factors, the third and the fourth, the administration levying of taxes, and the seventh, availability of financial instruments. The financial decentralization is a good thing for local resources, but that's also about local responsibility. And who has the first position? Switzerland, of all countries, for many years now, 99% of enterprises are SMEs by definition, by size. The 2/3 of all the population Switzerland are employed in this sector. So if we want to be much more competitive, we have to develop SMEs. That's my conclusion. What happened to our presentation, dear friends? Can we put it on? Let's ask our technicians. There is no answer. Something is wrong. It's all icing, I suppose. So, it's all the icing. So let me talk instead of showing. So diversification of risks with a big share of SMEs. So what can Ukraine do about it? We have to take care of proper conditions for business operations. Speaking of the financial system, the state banks that represent the biggest part of the major part of the financial market in Ukraine, they have to create specialized products that they should support. And for the cities should also do their thing. Speaking of the local taxes, we are now finalizing this work on a product, on a software or a piece of software that will compensate taxes for SMEs paid to the local budget, so that they really may provide relief in the loan burden. This is SMEs. The SMEs that have worked for more than 1 year and are registered in Vinnytsia as their domicile. So it's with the loan-wise, it's not more than 2 million hryvnias, because otherwise it's too risky, especially for a pilot stage. And the rules are very simple. If you take a loan, for example, we have the understanding with the savings bank, you pay more taxes because of this loan, because you're developing your business, you're unfolding, so the delta of the tax up to 75% can be compensated for you, so that you finance your interest on this loan. So for the second year we can do it by 50%, and for the third by 25%. So it's up to 36 months. We are going to, of course, review it. Now it's this is the limit, and the thing that we would like to achieve with that, there are 3 categories of businesses that require our support. Startups, first of all, we have to keep doing what we are doing, creating the instruments that are capable of supporting them. And the second thing is the already effective business. They also need support. But there are some global solutions, meaning national solutions for the level of taxes and levying of taxes. So sustainable businesses need just some lending facilities, some loan support with a certain rate, reasonable rate, and we are prepared to give them their paid taxes back. That's the innovation that we're going to introduce, because we regards SMEs as very important for our country, and that will make possible for the business to get their lending facilities, for the financial institutions to diversify their loan portfolio, and that will actually galvanize our financial system. For the municipalities, it's clear they will become more sustainable in their development if the majority of GDP is generated by SMEs. And it is good to have a few big players. It's even better to have more smaller players, especially if they are out of the gray area, because they are incentivized, they are motivated to get out of the shadow. And I think that's the win-win situation. 1 minute. I'm done. Thank you for them. And that's for the extra minute. I think we can post this presentation on the portal, and we can post this presentation. Something was wrong with the equipment, and we couldn't see it. Now Yuri Bor, Trostyanets, a town of Trostyanets, mayor. Good morning, dear friends, dear guests. Thank you for the opportunity. I would like to present our district center and center in Sumy region and offer some ideas about the best way to develop smaller municipalities. We are using a very simple formula in our city. For 12 years I have been mayor. I had some ordinary, extraordinary elections, 5 in number. So the formula and the innovations related to that are very simple. People should operate in a comfortable environment, have comfortable living conditions and resting conditions, recreation conditions. That in that situation, we will have no workforce drain, brain drain. People won't go to Poland to look for jobs. So we have to create this simple situation. We have to simplify all the permits procedures for SMEs and the bigger investors who enter our municipality. It's more than $200 million US in FDIs. And we have one of the highest positions per capita in FDIs. More than 5 billion hryvnias. The turnover of production. We have 22,000 people, the second economic potential in Sumy region. After Sumy, the capital, the industrial park not just registered, but it's on the city's master plan, so that no councillors can change this philosophy, and business agents can understand that they can enter this area for good. And all the tax preferences and other preferences are provided for SMEs. It's much easier to get all the permits for a stand and bigger facilities. It's all on the electronic map, and any business agent can see the best place to install. And this is the most simplistic innovation that our people need currently. And this is very simplistic, very easy. All of the houses, all the staircases are lighted. People entering the door can feel safe and comfortable. All the housing, all the residential, 134 buildings have individual heating. We had no problem with the 15th of October when all Ukraine is shivering, and people can switch on their heating whenever they feel like it and need it. So for 3 years we had the switchover, and we gained 22 million and saved cubic meters of natural gas, and also big savings by 3 times for every household, for every flat, in other words. And people can save money and renovate their flats, their houses, and our innovation. Yesterday, our international speaker said that people should be involved. We have this unique system. I cannot think of any Ukrainian municipality having this level of participatory budget. Anything that is done for beautification and management of the city is discussed by the people. People in their neighborhoods decide whether they have benches, they have playgrounds, and so forth. The pavements people have street committees, and also the village councils who joined us. The village budget now is a public budget in our reality. So people are very active in having public works together, so-called tolokas. You are invited to Trostyanets to change our life, to see how life can be changed. Thank you very much. And the last one, Yuri Nazarov, Kiev Smart City, Deputy Mayor of the glorious town of Kiev on the Dnieper River. An old hand in innovation. I am not a deputy mayor, sorry, I'm a director of IT department. Well, that's your prospect. So, thank you for this icing request. There's this online channel, you can get to know about this icing through the warning system. With an emergency, everyone would receive an SMS and this audience. So please put on my presentation, and I would like to concentrate on several projects that are being implemented by us currently. Dolina's mayor, I would like to speak as a follow-up. Any innovation is possible only if community, business, and municipality are together. So we developed together with business and the public. Kiev Smart City with the main priorities and strategic areas of development to be implemented by 2020. And if we speak of the projects, we can divide them into projects for transparency and efficiency, e-democracy, technological projects and stimulation for development of innovative environment in this city. Let me concentrate on figures. Open budget. The system that is used every day, about 20,000 people in Kiev, Kievans, watch and monitor the savings for the treasury, all the financial transactions for revenues and expenditures by districts, by schools, by hospitals. You can do the analysis by sectors. System of electronic procurements for Zora, more than 2 billion hryvnias saved. We can use them for utilities, for the projects under Kiev Smart City. Online petitions, more than 600,000 Kievans on a permanent basis participate in this process. If 50,000 people support a petition, we're supposed to review it, and we do. 45 of that level and 4 already implemented. Participatory budget. This year it's 50 million hryvnias, and all the projects that are planned have been implemented after the successful project. Next year, Kiev City Hall allocated 100 million for the participatory budget. Last week added another 50,000 million. Sorry. So next year it's 150 million for the projects that are earmarked, favored by Kievans. 131,000 people. Last week we closed the voting. The register for communities. We know how many people are registered in Kiev. 2.9 million registered in the city of Kiev, so we can shorten time of registration for from 2 or 3 weeks to 2 or 3 days for the registration. And the minor system, minor means property, full land cadastre, urban development master plan, it's all in the information system, and all Kievans have access to this information. All the public municipal transport, 478 unities and 1,500 with GPS trackers, trams, trolleybus, and so forth. The public and technological transport, 83 stops have information. Boards for the arrival time for buses, trams, and trolleybuses. The e-cards, electronic cards, you can pay with an pay card together with the MasterCard and Savings Bank or Bank. And now we are introducing e-ticket for the surface transport. And that's the nearest plan. The city Wi-Fi that is being developed, and the metro, and on the surface online waiting list to visit a doctor, kindergarten, so just electronic for the parents to be put on the waiting list, and smart city hub. And we are helping people with innovative ideas, startups, to launch their projects and build up their businesses. And of course, Safe City, one of the projects very important. We introduced more than 4,000 CCTV cameras recognizing faces and number plates, and the analysis of social and cultural facilities, public spaces, places of congestions, street lights, crossing lights. And I can give you a short video from the CCTV cameras. Safe City, safety for Kievans, control of utilities, 4,129 CCTV cameras in the city of Kiev, and also 5,366 cameras by the end of next year. The Center for Data Processing, also recognition faces and number plates for vehicles. Interoperation with the Ministry of Interior and SB of the Secret Service of Ukraine. And as a result, a safer city, lower crime rate, also monitoring of the bridges, and also the system is used for traffic monitoring. There's a pilot drone project. Next step, creation of the single situational center for the city. Kiev is safer now.
Thank you for your attention, and I'm pleased now to tell you that I am ready to share our experience and to communicate with you. Please, a round of applause. And now I would like to invite Ms. Irina Zinok to the podium, and Vladimir Groisman, the Prime Minister of Ukraine, and they are going to participate in a visionary discussion. Please stay in the audience. At 3:30, we are going to take a tour of Yunis city, and I will tell you what is the first innovative center in Ukraine, which is located at the area of 25 hectares. Minister of Ukraine, Mr. Vladimir Groisman. And now I would like to invite to the floor Ms. Irina Azimok. She is going to tell us what are we expecting to happen at our summit next. Thank you and see you soon. Esteemed Prime Minister, esteemed Yaroslava Johnson, dear mayors, foreign guests, participants of the International Mayors Summit. And we are happy to participate in the second day of the International Mayors Summit. It is dedicated to the innovations, and it is very important for innovations at the local level are supported by the national level. As we know from history, the leaders of the local self-government authorities can become the leaders of the national level. As you know, the Prime Minister used to be of Turkey used to be the mayor of Istanbul. Jacques Chirac used to be the mayor of Paris before he became Prime Minister of France. And we are happy that Prime Minister of Ukraine, Mr. Vladimir Groisman, is aware of the issues of the Ukrainian cities because he was a mayor of a very innovative city, and he demonstrated how it is possible to implement the changes at the local level. And when Vladimir Groisman was elected the mayor of the city, Vinnytsia used to be rated as the best city of Ukraine in 2012. And in 2028, a lot of extra budgetary funds have been attracted to develop the city, and I hope that you will be able to share this experience, Mr. Prime Minister, with the Ukrainians' mayor. Steve Jobs said that the leaders are different from other people by innovation, and the leader is different from the follower by innovative approaches. And we would like to share this experience of innovation implementation by the mayors with other mayors of Ukraine and other cities. And we have created a very creative project, provocative project, I would say, together with the 1+1 studio. And it is this project is called the Mayor Change of Profession of Trade. And in this project, we have several mayors who have changed their professions, and they were traveling in public transit as, you know, mystery travelers, and they were visiting the kindergartens as mystery guests, and they visited the markets as mystery buyers, because, you know, the citizens are criticizing their government while they're watching TV programs, but they cannot give critical remarks looking into the eyes and into the face of those people whom they criticize. And I would like to demonstrate how this project looks. It is going to be presented at the television channel 1+1, and we will announce when. But at present, we have a brief insider information about this project for the participants of the summit. innovation and startups emerge where the problems exist, because they are the tools which help to resolve those issues and problems. And it's an honor for me to invite the Prime Minister of Ukraine, Mr. Vladimir Grossman, to tell us about the innovation at the national level as well as the local level. Please welcome the Prime Minister of Ukraine. Good morning, dear colleagues. And last night, quite late, I came back from Georgia, where I paid a friendly visit, and I have an opportunity to spend this morning with you, with my colleagues, who every day, and I'm absolutely sure about that, have to face the unprecedented challenges. And the majority of whom find proper, good decisions which their citizens expect them to find. And I would like to underscore that I'm happy to participate in such an event, this summit of mayors, where the mayors come together, discuss their experience, share their practices, discuss their issues and problems, and find good, effective decisions to turn around the situation in their cities. And maybe I will start with the following. I would like to say that the life of the local self-government authorities is evolving alongside several phases. Since the law on local self-government has been passed, and that was under the times when Mr. Kuchma was the president of Ukraine. Well, this was for the first time, the local self-government was created during the period of independence of Ukraine. And then I would emphasize that there was the next phase after the Orange Revolution, when we thought that the local self-government will have new opportunities, new capacities. It didn't happen. And 2010, 2014 is the most tragic period in our life, because the local self-government was almost exterminated. It was at the edge of extermination. The name was there, but there were no opportunities and no resources. In 2014, after the Revolution of Dignity, I went to go to work to the government to change the system together with you, and to give an opportunity to leave the bad practices of humiliating the local government. And it means that the local self-government was elected by the people, but they didn't have any rights and they could not work efficiently. But we could do certain things by my team in Vinnytsia in 2014, 2012, 2014. And up till 2014, it was rather an exception than the rule. We were trying to oppose the system, but we were still effective. And we were created a success story in a specific city of Ukraine, where we have 400,000 people population. But it was important to do it not only in the city of 400,000 population, but to roll out this experience all over Ukraine, to give the opportunity for self-actualization for each community. And we developed the draft on 2014. In 2015, we passed the first decision of financial decentralization, and we implemented the new mechanisms of amalgamation of territorial communities and creating strong communities in this country. We have transferred 100 million funds to the local level from the national budget so that the communities would get a resource. We provided them with a tool so that the small, inefficient communities will amalgamate and become stronger together. And we were told that it will never happen at the beginning, but now we have more than 600 communities who have amalgamated at present. They have absolutely new financial capacity, and they are implementing new practices and are successful. And, well, it tells us that the decentralization of power and government, the local self-government strengthening, is an absolutely correct approach and the correct way. And in the future, we are going to see more success in the development of the communities which have real leaders, because we can see that the leaders play a very important role in the communities. If we talk about the real leaders, I'd like to emphasize that where the local self-government is not indifferent, and when the local community is participating in the local development, these communities are going to be successful, and thus we will be able to achieve success all over the territory of Ukraine. But it's important for us not to stop. Some people say, well, there was no money, there were no funds, and now there are funds, there are money. But we have to give the answer. Why have we transferred the resources, the authority, the powers to the local communities? We did that to change the quality of life of the communities. And I'm absolutely convinced that the statement that the cities have to be comfortable to live for their residents is a key message from the point of view of the investments and from the point of view of the development in the directions where we invest financial resources and intellectual decisions are being taken. On our agenda, we have quite a number of very important tasks. We have to change all the areas of life of this country because the country was not reformed for decades. We have to achieve the new quality, and this new quality is directly linked to the innovations. If today we are going to define the agenda for the medium term and long term perspective, we have to understand that we face the task to shape up the environment for a high-quality life. We have to develop a new approach to the educational services, public health services, medical services. We have to give a signal to the business. And we have to tell them that we are interested in investment. We would like to create new jobs, new companies, new enterprises, and we would like the people to get quality jobs in their areas, wages, and the economy should grow. In 2017, we envisage the growth of national economy at the level of a little bit more than 3%. Yeah, well, we have stopped the decline, and we started regeneration of the national economy, and we achieved certain growth. But it's not sufficient. I think that 5+ % is a realistic growth for us to be able to achieve these indicators. What is 3%? 400 billion of the products have been manufactured in comparison with 2016. And multiplied by 3%, we will see what the scope of national product should be produced to increase the growth of the economy. But we need the investment for growth. Investments come to the place where the rule of law is valuable. And this is the task of the national government. And I am convinced that next year we are going to take all the necessary efficient decision to complete the creation of infrastructure of counteracting corruption. We have created we will create an independent anti-corruption court, and then the level of trust of the investors to Ukraine is going to increase. And that's a key question, the question of trust, the climate in the business environment, and also the good attitude to those investors who invest into the real economy. When I was meeting the mayors and mayors of amalgamated communities, the representatives of local self-government, when we had the meeting of the Association of the Cities, I gave an example. In some cities, 90 days are needed to complete all the procedures in terms of starting a business. And in other cities, it's 225 days. Some cities are open, some cities are closed. Some for the businesses. In some places, they invest into infrastructure. They create the programs of the development of national economy, employment, the training of the qualified personnel. But in other municipalities, the governments believe it's not their business. But if we have transferred 100 billion hryvnia into the local budgets, we have to multiply this resource. It could count as 200 billion. It should grow through the real sector of the economy. If we are talking about the quality of life of the people, well, definitely it was a fundamental question for me when I was a mayor, and also for my team. And I was 28 when I became the mayor of Vinnytsia, and it was a big city, 400,000 population. It's a huge responsibility. We have created a team, and we have identified one criteria for ourselves: quality of life of the city dwellers. And we started to look at the condition of living, the infrastructure, roads, public transport, the city environment, and ecology. All this is in the agenda of the strategy which we have developed then, and it is being implemented at present. And this strategy is going to be completed in 2020. And this means that the city started to prepare itself to develop the strategy for 2020-2030. And I would like each of you to become successful. So the best practices which we have, and I know that here in this audience, the speakers were telling about those best practices in their presentations. They told about innovative approaches to address a lot of local problems and issues. And I would like them to become the basis for the success of each community. Definitely, no doubt that new ideas, innovations, good decisions, correct decisions have to make the basis of the efficiency and quality of management. And I'm not talking about the problems and issues we are facing at present, but if we take as an example just a topic, our energy, just the usual topic, energy independence. This is one of the most important priorities now, but it depends how quick we are going to achieve this goal. Depends on your professional actions, technological decisions, which you are going to implement to become energy efficient. And it means competitive, and to make your own investment into our energy independence. You know, quite often I ask the question to myself, and also ask all those who am I talking to. Let us recall the energy dependence of Ukraine on Russia from the point of view of gas supply, natural gas supply. Let us recall the rhetorics of the previous 15 years prior to 2014. What was the topic which was thrust on the Ukrainian society by the authorities? If I'm mistaken, you will correct me. What is the price for purchasing Russian gas? $50 or $100? $100 or $200? How to get a discount for the Russian gas at the expense of giving the basis for the Black Sea Fleet of Russia in Ukraine, and giving the territory into long-term management to Russia. And you can see that these policies and this politics brought about those problems which are facing now. That was the issues which were discussed at the national level. But now the situation is very different. In Ukraine, we have the reserves of gas in accordance to the results of all the surveys of the authority organizations. We occupy the second or the third place in the world as far as the reserves of gas is concerned. We produce 3 times, 4 times less of gas in comparison with the other countries who have deposits of gas. We are the country. If we implement new innovative technologies, we can become energy independent by producing the necessary amount of gas for the domestic market, internal market, and also to export. But if we export the gas, we will improve our trade balance, and our national currency is going to be strengthened. And this is a strengthening of the national economy. If we look what happened within the previous decade, we can see that that was a policy of destruction of Ukraine, of destroying of Ukraine. And it was a purposeful policies and politics, and increasing our dependence when we have all the ways to be independent in this respect. And it was absolutely unprofessional. I would say even it was criminal actions versus our native land. And it actually brought about very negative results. And I would like to, in every city, and I believe in local self-government, and I would like to voice the position of the president, my personal position and the coalition, and that position is as follows. Nobody will be able to destroy the local self-government. Nobody is going to stop and halt the process of decentralization in Ukraine. And we are going to increase our efficiency. We are going to professionally discuss these issues and toughly do that, and I can afford that, because I would like each city of Ukraine to be efficient so that each resource would be used publicly, openly, transparently, so that people can understand how it is being done. And as a result of the consultations with the people, well, we should not believe that the city mayor at present is, something very special, that it's a very special position, and the decisions could not be questioned and disputed. This person, the mayor, has become a leader of the community due to the election process, and the mayor has to consult with the people which issues are to be resolved. First of all, what is the best way to resolve them? Offer decisions, definitely, to try to persuade the community, lead the community, but people have to improve the quality of their life due to these decisions. As far as the policies of the government are concerned, I can tell you the following. We have created this year a Council of Development of Innovations under the Prime Minister of Ukraine. It means that we are going to develop the mechanisms, the tools of support of development of innovation. That is the first item. The second item, in the budget of 2018, we are creating the Fund of Innovation Support, this support of innovative decisions, which might become the engine of the efficient changes in the country. That's the second point. We have created certain infrastructure which will help the cities to become successful. As an example, I would like to quote the Office of Support of the Investment, which is operating in the government for 12 months now, and it has quite a good portfolio of investment projects which we are stewarding at present. The second item, we have created, and we are going to get more investment support. This is the Office of Support of Ukrainian Expert. Our expert increases now, not only due to the implementation of the association agreement with the EU. We have increased our expert by 10%, and that's not the end of the process, but it's very important for you to use this infrastructure through the mechanism of regional development, and the Fund of Regional Development is going to be about 4 billion next year. We can include innovative component into it, and it will give you an opportunity to implement innovative decisions. And there are a lot of solutions exist at present, but we have to realistically implement them into the life of Ukrainian communities. I'd like to underscore that I am going to be the partner of yours. And I would like people to feel the changes, not only judging by the funds which have been transferred in the budgets, but we would like them to see the improvement of the roads, public transit, energy efficiency, system of energy provision. And it is impossible to make those efficient without you. Modernization and innovative approach to the innovation of the housing stock, the increase of the quality of education, quality of the professional training, creating the infrastructure to provide administrative services. And when we have cities where the system of the transparent offices is working, and it's working in reality, but in some cities there is only a name of those nicely refurbished building, but they are not creating an enabling environment, and they are the quality of services is crucial to raise the satisfaction of the citizens.
That's why, concluding my presentation, dear colleagues, I would like to say that it is extremely important, the thing that we are getting together and already creating some approaches, some pathways for paving the way to success of our communities. I am a great believer in successful, economic, democratic Ukraine, economically successful, and I'm sure that we can reach success. Speed economic development, we will reinvest everything gained into the quality of life for our people, and they will gain or regain our honorable place among other jurisdictions. We are not a raw material appendix for any other country. We are not just exporting raw materials. We should be also, through support of investments, change the structure of national economy, create competitive products, enter other people's markets, and also build our house with our strong hands. And I would like to thank our international partners for the support of local self-governance, implementation of different projects that strengthen our communities. And wrapping up, as a former mayor, as a present Prime Minister, I would like to say, they ask me what my ambition is. My ambition is for Ukrainians to live better. And I have my success story, Vinnytsia. We had lots of problems, but together with our Vinnytsia people, we demonstrated our ability to achieve, to develop, to deliver, to introduce a new quality of life. Now it's progressing even further, and that's all right. But I would never turn a blind eye on people. I would never take no heed of people, and I am still a great fan of the city to which I dedicated years of my life. And it's a good video for the people to mayors disguising to get to know people's opinion. But I would wish that when you conclude a career, you don't have to disguise. You don't have to wear any makeup, so that you can look people straight into the eye and be still appreciated by them. That's my wish, and that's what I wish you to achieve. Thank you very much for this excellent presentation, for the inspirational speech, and thank you for reminding us of the two very important instruments of support: the investment office and the mayor's office. Western NIS Enterprise Fund supported them both. So what should municipalities do to invite investments? And the strategy and the development strategy, everyone says that we want investments. So what should municipalities do better to get more investments, to invite investors, to engage investors? It is very important for the investors to know about the conditions of investment, the conditions of business operations. Being mayor, I would always say, colleagues, you have to create an enterprise to manage it. The rest of it is for us to accommodate you, to give you permits, to monitor, to facilitate. This is our job. So there are several things that are important indeed. First, you need a developmental strategy for your community, for the investors to understand just how foresighted you are and whether your target coincides with investments. And the second point, which is also very important, the well-intentions, the hospitability, the accommodating capacity of the local system, how welcoming it is for investments. And the third thing is trust. Trust that cannot be created overnight or established overnight. And Vinnytsia is a highly developed municipality in that respect. A good partnership with all sorts of partner organizations. And lots of millions of dollars were invested without any repayment. That was trust. When investors see that they are welcome and they are protected, they are appreciated, they are provided with the resources, readily available. Recently, our city improved its rating of investment attractiveness. This is all hard work, but I think that's for the mayors, for the municipalities as functioning organizations to achieve. Yesterday we talked to His Royal Highness Prince Constantine, and he takes care of startups in the Netherlands. They support startups, and it's very important for the country brand. And you refer to the Regional Development Fund and the Council of Innovations. How can we turn those instruments into something not for advocacy, because sometimes we have to repair the roads and the water channels, water treatment facilities, but for innovation. I think mending the fences or putting patches on the tattered and torn garment is not a good policy. It's just delaying the end. And things that we are now doing with the Ukrainian roads. The infrastructure matters a lot. So it's not mending the fences anymore. It's a systemic development of the road infrastructure. Now, speaking of the toolkit, of course, for us it's very important to support innovation using the toolkit that I was referring to earlier. But we also have to say that what we invest, what municipalities invest, bear a very serious investment component, innovative component, new technologies. Speaking of the Regional Development Fund, in fact, its vocation, its mission is to support local strategies. In the implementation of the national policy, I didn't mention that, but I can mention it now, that, for example, we can identify some part of resources to support, say, kindergartens, to build new kindergartens. We have 65,000 children waiting for their place at a kindergarten. Can you imagine that? So we are now paying for the past periods of helplessness, and now children cannot be educated at preschool institutions. So we have to introduce some investments into our education. That includes training, municipal cadre. And it is very important because we have big gap in logistics in different municipal development areas. There's a gaping gap, and we have to invest into it. We have to fill in the gap, bridge the gap, and there we are ready to support also. I'd like to say thanking you that there's the Urban Development School, and we have over 80 alumni, and they are now employed at the urban development departments accordingly. So now about mayors and their openness, because yesterday we had the press briefing. Bo Frank is famous because he is Lord Mayor of the greenest town in Europe. Everyone knows how much he pays at the restaurant, who he met, and some transparent doors so that everyone can see that there are no hidden agendas there lurking behind the closed doors. And so open budget, public budget, participatory budget, administrative services, and so forth. Do you think that those existing elements can serve as innovation examples for transparency of mayors? Speaking of transparency, this is just good manners. This is essential. This is about all things being hidden. Everything that is hidden is unacceptable and inefficient immediately by the same token. So openness is issue number one. I remember when we were embarking upon this process, I would receive people and it was all transparent, literally. You could see through it. And still I receive people in the same kind of environment. Now as Prime Minister. It is extremely important. So how can you prevent abuse? I can tell you from my experience. The only thing is to destroy the closed system. The more open you are, the more transparent, the more comprehensive, the fewer questions you will have. The depth of this openness can be measured differently because there are different cultures in different countries. But the budget, the decisions, the roadmap for decision making, the pipeline of decisions, consultations with the public hearings, discussions, identification of the developmental strategy, and transparency of all the processes without exception, I'm sure. If you lack it, it's your trouble. It's a bad thing. So we take 100 billion, we gave them to the amalgamated communities, and they can say heroically, see, I have done this, nobody would, and I have. I agree, but I have a question immediately. What have you done to do this? Because before you spend it, you have to earn. If it is given to you as a transfer, it is about the efficiency, it can be openness. Well, what's the bidding just? I remember I was making procurements for medical devices. It was in installments for 3 years. It was the world famous vendor, and that was about morbidity rates and incidence rate, 7.5 million hryvnias, I remember, with 3 years paying installments, and we paid 30%, but that was the down payment, and then for another 3 years we're paying for it. And the sad news was that at the same point, well, the difference was 2 or 3 weeks. One of the medical institutions in Ukraine immediately paid for the same equipment 12.5 million. So it was 7.5 in installment for 3 years, and that's the biggest corruption that was served as a foundation also for public procurements, and then innovative Prozora solutions are helping them, and we can now be open in public procurement. So when we started this openness, we looked into experience of Martin. I remember this Slovak town. They were leaders in openness. We took their model, we adjusted it to our model, and even expanded, made it better, and still we're open. And we could see no solutions. Then all the registries were open and so forth. And to get your child to kindergarten, the net set was very simple. You just register the site, get your registration number, and wait. Just wait. No human error, no bribes, no anything. Nothing of the kind, and that changes your life. That makes all the difference, and any mayor can be a driver in this. One of the questions from the floor. There are some Ukrainian mayors. I have Mayor of Voznesensk. In the morning, he was interviewed by 1+1. No paper signed by him. Good morning, Mr. Groisman. Thank you for your experience when you were mayor in Riezhov. Maybe it's not extremely politically correct. but be the patron of our project that is we can lose because of the parliament and the commitments. 2.2 megawatts solar unit power generation. The initiative of our municipality, we formed land plot, got all the permits, the design, the feasibility study, Prozora program, the winning bidder. Now we are talking to Bank for lending facilities, Gas Bank. And now there's a complaint to the Anti-Monopoly Committee. And I have this problem that this year we can lose everything. We are facing this. I can be interviewed, tested, put on trial, whatever, but I want to finalize this project. Thank you very much. You know that everything that depended on the government, you mentioned that you've been through all the procedures and you've done everything. Now the Anti-Monopoly Committee, this is a separate compartment. They are constitutionally independent. They are not subordinated to the government. And I would like to tell you that I am extremely concerned. I would like to say this in front of the whole country with the inefficiency of their operations of the Anti-Monopoly Committee. Moreover, I think that their operations blocking the public bidding procedures has all the signs, very prominent signs of corruption and threat to the development of our state. And I would like to tell you about a whole bunch of projects. I am sincere. I am open. Nobody would make me change my rhetoric. I'm a former mayor. I am never silent. We have to do something about the Ukrainian customs. Isn't that true? 50, 60, 30 to 50 billion of shadow cash flows that should be somehow blocked. We started changing the system, more than 15 billion from the Ukrainian customs. Nobody would believe me a year ago when I was when I stated that. Now we destroyed the corruption patterns. Now we have to employ some systemic approach through innovation.
And we could do it through innovations. Well, when the movement of goods is supported by the software to optimize the legislation basis, legal basis with other countries. And this is a fundamental change which we'll have to introduce, and we will be operating more efficiently because if we scan the goods by X-ray, it will be easier to determine the kind of goods which are being exported. But the Anti-Monopoly Committee actually blocked this initiative, and they have blocked this process, and I believe that this is done to support some corrupt groups and smugglers. We increase the exports, and we have to modernize Ukrainian export infrastructure. This year, we had to construct almost 10,000 new cars, and this is a national production facilities. But due to the Anti-Monopoly Committee, and they have a panel of 3 who takes decisions there, it's, well, actually, this 3-person panel reminds me of the times of the terror under the Soviet Union. And they actually block very good decisions and good projects. And I think the work and operation of the Anti-Monopoly Committee is actually a threat to the national security of the state. And we are developing the draft legislation at present and draft documents, and we would like them to be accountable for all their wrongful acts. Well, it is impossible to influence the Anti-Monopoly Committee because they are a constitutionally independent body, and they have their own agenda which they implement it, and I'm not going to forgive it to them, and I will find an opportunity to punish them for that. If not now, then it's 3 months from now or 6 months from now, but I will deal with this issue. And first of all, and I would like to thank you on behalf of all the mayors for the results of the budget decentralization, because people start to forget, but I would like to remind everyone that when Mr. Groisman was a speaker, he actually supported the decentralization. And, well, due to this, the national level shared the financial resources with the local level. But my question is about the law on privatization. I think that in every second town and city, there are the companies which do not operate, and we are the hostages of that big list of the objects to be privatized. Is it possible to break up this list of enterprises this year? We have a 100 years old salt producing enterprise. Actually, it's not operating for 25 years, but the buildings are just a historic monument. So we would like to privatize it, but well, because of this list, we're unable to do it. Well, how can you help us to resolve this issue? I know about your experience. Thank you for your question. I know about Dalina's experience, and I would like to say, and by the way, the experience of Voznesensk and other cities is a good experience. It should be rolled out over the territory of Ukraine. It's an experience which makes the communities stronger, more efficient. And as far as the financial decentralization is concerned, I would like to underscore that there are a lot of new mayors who came to the new system in 2016. They don't remember how things were working prior to 2015, but those who were working in the 14, 13, 12, 11, 8, 7, they don't remember. And they do remember the old procedures. Every year, everything was concentrated in the center. We have destroyed this system at present, and now we have a more efficient system. As far as the privatization is concerned, it's very important to open the opportunity for the public and open privatization in Ukraine. This actually gives new possibilities to invest. We can invest in our areas, the areas of our communities. It could be either a greenfield, where we can start the new projects, brownfield, where we can have certain assets which could be updated and modernized. Also, the issue of investments, infrastructure, and investment into the companies, which could be publicly privatized and have to be publicly privatized. We have 3,500 state-owned enterprises in Ukraine. When I am quoting this number in front of the representatives of the countries who went through the transformations, they are, they are surprised. They do not have that many state-owned enterprises, any country, who have transformed their economies. And these are various enterprises representing various spectrum of the economy. And most of them are in the list of the objects which should not be privatized, though they do not have any strategic importance. Moreover, these enterprises realistically are corrupt schemes, and they are actually the sources of illegal revenues for those who oversee these enterprises. And as far as the small privatization is concerned, we are trying to privatize these assets through the ProZorro system. We have just passed this decision quite recently. As far as the big privatization is concerned, we have 7 laws now which actually legislate privatization. It is impossible to comply with all the conditions. If we do controlled privatization, which was done previously, and that was a shame, we should not do that. We need to be open and competitive. So we have developed a draft law. It cancels all the 7 laws, and it concentrates all the provisions in the new one. Well, we envisage the attraction of the involvement of the international advisors. We also would like to carry out privatizations through the system of ProZorro. And, well, we would like the privatization agreements would be covered by the British law. Fundamentally, fundamental right, the law, which will have an opportunity for the foreign investors to start working in Ukraine and have guarantees of the safety, security of their investment. This is the logics we adhere to. We have passed this draft law in the first reading. Now it is being prepared for the second reading, and I think it will one of the major laws which will be very crucial for carrying out the reforms and changes. And then we are going to create a list. I agree that this list not only has to be minimized, but it maybe should be cancelled, and a new list could be created into which we can put like two companies which could not be privatized from the national security issues. But if, for example, we have this a state-owned company, the company which manufactures alcohol, and this company is exempt from privatization. Well, when Stalin was at power, or when the Soviet Union existed and there were strategic reserves of alcohol for some military actions, well, I could have understood that. But at present, when we consider that this is a strategic sector, well, this is nonsense. The ministry was managing the state-owned companies in 1965, and the decision was taken, but a few things have changed from the point of view of the management of those enterprises. The ministries have to manage the companies. The ministries have to develop the policy in their respective sectors to make the state successful. But entrepreneurs have to manage the enterprises who can do it efficiently. And I support you completely, and I would like to thank you very much for supporting this approach to the privatization, because I think that this will be a step which will give us an opportunity to deal with the corrupt schemes. Unfortunately, the time is we are running out of time. So give please three key advices how it is possible to become a dignified mayor and a good mayor. Real mayors never complain, almost never complain. I know a lot of mayors, almost. They never complain, they never ask, they never beg, give me more and more. And I saw the mayor of Zaporizhia here, Vadim Boychenko, and I talked about Pelech, and they never beg. They never tell me, give us. In Zaporizhia, the mayor told me, well, we have to build a new airport. And I turned to him and said, what do you need for that? He said, we don't need anything from you. We are going to do it all on our own. And that is a great approach. Yeah. I respect this approach. And Vadim Baychuk, well, Mariupol is a difficult place. It's a complex city. And he now is working on the modernization of this city. And he never asks to resolve issues, maybe some procedural things, but all the rest, they are resolving themselves. And he supports his position. And that's a good attitude of every good mayor. And the most important to my mind is the most important. I don't know whether it's three key advice or pieces of advice or one. You should not consider the smartest person, the most intelligent and clever person. The second advice, maybe it is necessary to be able to delegate your authority and counsel with people and caucus with people. But, well, one has to remain a human being and not to become indifferent. I always told my colleagues, I can forgive people if something didn't work out, a mistake, an error, something was done wrong. I can forgive this. But if an individual is indifferent, unattentive, condescending towards the people, I will never forgive that. And I'm not going to work with the mayors of that kind. And I would like to wish you to remain the human beings and never become indifferent. Thank you very much for this opportunity to communicate with you. Thank you very much. And I would like to invite you for the 3rd International Summit of Mayors next year. Now we have 20 minutes break, and after that we are going to start a very interesting discussion.